of the national state of disaster to December the 15th, and two key points: all international travel, also the restriction on that now lifted, and the trading hours for liquor now go back to normal.
Yeah, so despite some speculation that there could be a tightening up, possibly some restrictions reintroduced, in fact what we see here is an opening up. Alcohol can now be sold on the weekends, and international travel opening up completely. This move surely to boost tourism. South Africa is suddenly in a position where it can draw tourists that cannot travel to many parts of the world. And what an emotional measure, 5 days of national mourning. That's part of the 16 days of activism around gender-based violence. So that'll be mourning for those who are the victims of gender-based violence and those who have died as a result of COVID-19. Otherwise, really a tongue lashing, as you said, but in a very nice way, saying wear your mask because behavior counts, and rather than the brute force tool of a lockdown, what they're doing now, there are some hotspots he basically described where the figures are above average, and certainly the focus on the Eastern Cape, but it won't be a blunt force tool, it won't be a lockdown, it'll be things like contact tracing, doctors raising awareness in the community, looking at the awareness of hospitals in those affected areas.
Basically a resurgence plan being implemented. Areas in the Eastern Cape, your Nelson Mandela Bay, as well as Sarah Baartman, those are the areas that the President has mentioned as well. So basically readying the country for if there was a possible a cluster outbreak. So this contact tracing that needs to take place specifically in those areas. And I think of particular concern, you'd recall, Francis, that in the Eastern Cape, the crisis that was there between the Eastern and the Western Cape, you'd recall, at the start of the outbreak of COVID-19 in South Africa. So the containment measures now are being put in place as a result of what the President has described as, showing signs of a resurgence in this particular area because of the rising numbers in the Eastern Cape. All
right, let's chat now to Tshifiwa Tshivenga from the Tourism Business Council, joining us for a reaction. I'm sure you are delighted tonight.
No, absolutely. We are delighted as a tourism industry. We have been working hard behind the scenes to talk to government and the officials that are involved in the process of getting to this stage. This includes, the Minister of Tourism, of course, the Director General of Tourism, and many other departments that have been very instrumental in us getting to this stage. It is indeed, a good day for us. We do recognize that there is still a long way ahead in terms of us building demand and making sure that, tourists across the globe do trust Destination South Africa. And of course, in doing so, following the protocols that we have developed.
So just tell me more. I mean, did you have an inkling that this was coming? Many South Africans were actually worried that there could be more restrictions. And instead, we see an opening up of international travel entirely.
Look, we have made our case, to various, director generals, who are instrumental in this type of decision making, and various, through various entities, including the business for SA and many other, like NEDLEC and everywhere else that we were able, to go to make sure that, the case for tourism is heard and the impact of tourism to this economy is heard. And the fact that, tourism employs, 1.5 million people across the value chain is heard. And the plea that we had was that, we need to open up our borders. We're not expecting that we're going to have an influx of tourists coming into the country now, but we need to build the forward book. If we do not open up now, we're not going to know what's going to happen in March next year. And therefore, without that knowledge, the tourists that we would have attracted would have gone to other countries, and therefore it would have had a negative impact in jobs within the hospitality and tourism industry. So it's quite a momentous time at the moment that the President have had what we've been saying and also have recognized the protocols that we've put in place to mitigate the spread of the virus, because we are very much concerned about the fact that, there's still people who are not compliant that are walking around in this country without wearing masks, without doing social distancing, and the fact that they're jeopardizing other people's jobs by not doing so is something that everyone needs to recognize. We need to be patriotic, and we need to mitigate this, because we cannot survive the second wave. And that's what we've been saying, and that's the message that we've been sending across the country. But for now, we believe that the opening of international, tourism and the borders will have, a positive impact in the industry. We'll have more hotels opening up. We'll have more people going back to work. Attractions will open. Those that are within the convention center space will be able to open, and we'll start to see the value chain moving. Yeah. So it is a good news for us,
Tshivenga,
and we do hope that everything goes well.
Yeah. What happens if suddenly these international travelers bring in huge amounts of cases, and we see a resurgence, and people blame international travel? You spoke about those protocols. Are you sure it's watertight, it's safe? And maybe talk about air travel. I've heard passengers sort of laughing about being close to people, and then you come off, and then suddenly you have to social distance. So very quickly, please.
No, absolutely. What we have done is that, we are talking to the international airlines. Within the TBCSA stable, we have the International Board of International Airline Representatives, which is, represented. And we have made sure that when people board the planes, and before boarding, the airlines do the protocols. People are being checked before they board. Some airlines are even testing before people board. Some airlines are even offering the insurance for COVID when people are, traveling through their airlines. So we have put together protocols from the airline point of view when someone is departing their country to when someone arrives here, and also in between when people are on their trip. We have put that together, and the airlines are in compliance. So, we are not so much worried about that, but we need to be careful. And we have been careful because we have been open for quite some time, and we are making sure that we protect our industry, and we will continue to do so.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Very delighted with the opening up of international travel. That was Tshifiwa Tshivenga from the Tourism Business Council. Griselda.